Hey everybody, um, I'm Austin. I'm the blue guy. Um, I'm in Maine and I'm pivoting a bit. Well, I already pivoted a bit, but I'm gonna stay up in Maine for a while. My original plan was to travel a bit and figure out this whole adventurous guide thing. Like I don't know, it wasn't really a plan. It was kind of unfolding as I went, but I wanted to get on here and kind of I've been contemplating my last video with the whole growth or fun thing, and I still think that's a valid. I still that's it's your life, but I want to talk about intuition today because um, it's it's how I listen to the universe. I've been telling people a lot lately that I started dancing with the universe, and the world started working better for me. And yeah, so I dance with the universe. Um, and some people call them vortexes. Different people have different ways of talking about this. Some people say they hear the word of God. For me, it's just the phrase I like is I dance with the universe. And ever since I started doing that, um, life has gotten more real and more. I feel more in control of my life than I have in the past. And when I found my way to Maine, it was by dancing with the universe, by listening to the word of God, by trusting in the universe. And I've had rough patches, um, and I've made people worried about my decisions because this is all kind of spontaneous, and so I want to address a few people. Um, so first, I want to address people who have only heard me say things like you should, because I don't want to recommend psychedelics. That's not my path. That's not my purpose. I'm just trying to say to people, I want to say to people that psychedelics have helped me, and they're they've done their thing. Like I am, I'm pretty much done with I I've never been so I'm 32. I didn't do anything a substance. I didn't even really drink, and I didn't drink until I didn't until I turned 21. I've never consumed substances before that, and then I only drank a couple times socially, like 21st birthday, a few social gatherings, stuff like that, but really a handful of times. And then I didn't start with anything with cannabis or anything like that until I turned 30, and then I only started with psychedelics when I turned 31, and I'm 32 now, and I'm pretty much done. I got what I needed out of them. I like myself more, or I like life when I'm seeing it through out without a filter, without some kind of uh, substance adjusting the world. And so I will never regret my decisions. I could have handled certain parts of it better. I could have done things differently, but I also don't regret this trip, this adventure. And so when I've been on TikTok lately talking about this project I've come into the idea of. I haven't it's still in the works, but I'm gonna start sitting down and really writing this thing. But I'm gonna call it the Adventurer's Guide, and I'll have a chapter. Like one chapter will be about psychedelics, but this is an adventurer's guide for life, for everything. Because I've met people here up in Maine who they don't partake in anything other than cannabis, and they've had meditative psychedelic experiences. And yesterday I was with a friend and we were listening to this podcast, and the one of the people on the podcast was talking about sound meditation, and it's like, oh yeah, like there are all these avenues. Like I fully embrace the idea that there are all these paths and none of them are like one size fits all. uh In fact, I believe each person has one specific path. It's just wide enough for their 2 feet. And so from part of my journey, it was psychedelically aided, but I am fully of the mindset that I'm a very careful person. I don't do anything without doing research. I don't do anything without extra preparation. And so I'm also a very low and slow type of guy. My friend yesterday told me I'm a little bit too careful. We were doing some gardening, stuff like that, and I spent so long in a city that I haven't really had my hands dirty with like soil in a while. So it was kind of nice to get my hands in the soil, and we were helping to transplant some trees that he was planting, 2 cherry trees. It was really a good experience because one, I learned I will help with plants, and I enjoy plants, but plants aren't my thing. Um, and what I learned in spending time with him and other people like him who do or do not, or like who have different perspectives on different substances, is that I'm not really a substance guy. I don't like drinking alcohol. I don't like the cannabis is okay. It's got its moments, but I really prefer what the best word is sobriety. I really do prefer sobriety. And caffeine, it's a affects your chemical balance and stuff like that. So, who's to say if you're ever truly sober? But like, as far as I like the chemicals in my brain to be what I'm, you know, affected by, and we're always affected by signals and data and screens and stuff like that. All that stuff is affecting our chemicals and our energy and all this stuff. And so it's like there's a level of you have to protect yourself with that too. Um, but yeah, I had a few experiences with psychedelics that showed me that it's a really you have to listen to your intuition. Like that's why I started this thing about intuition. Is that and for some people they don't like the word intuition. It's a little too woo woo, or maybe not grounded in some belief system that they're attached to, which is fine. So maybe for certain people I should say listen to God, or talk to the universe, or talk to your therapist, or listen to your mom. But some like this everybody's got a guide to some degree, and some people need it to be God, and some people prefer it to be the universe, and some people prefer they're atheists and they prefer that their guide is science. So do your research, follow your intuition, follow what you trust. And if it sounds like something that is for you, do your research, especially because like I said, I've had scary experiences. Ego death every time is terrifying to a certain degree. There's a level that you have to accept, and so that's when it gets less scary. But all of it is as long as you're safe, is what I'm saying. And also, you know, living with common sense and doing your research, especially because that's my background. My background is in research. I was in the Air Force for active duty, and my job was intelligence. I was a researcher. I was a briefer. I would gather intelligence, and I would or like collect existing intelligence. I would uh, digest it, understand it, parcel it out, and give it to the people who needed it. And so this is my thing. Like I don't do anything without putting extra effort into it, except for this trip. This trip I needed. This move I needed because it's more of a move now. I'm moving to Maine. Well, I've moved to Maine, and it's it's really what I needed. I I I was surrounded by people who didn't see me, people who I loved, coworkers, friends, family, uh, surrounded by people who didn't see me, and people I genuinely put in so much effort to help, to be around and be the best version of myself. I always put 110% effort into things I do. And this move was because I couldn't be around some people anymore. And it wasn't about family. The move was about people I was friends with, or really a person. But because that wasn't specific, the whole move wasn't because of that, but that was one of the inciting forces. And and I came to a realization on the trip that I also, it is partially because of family, because I've I said this the other day on TikTok, but you're awesome. The Whoever's watching this is awesome. If it's only one person or if it's eventually a lot of people, you're awesome. And the person I'm talking to as well is myself. I am also watching this and I know I'm awesome. And I have come to realize I see people. I genuinely do. I I can get a sense of a person pretty quickly. Like I said, I trust my intuition, and I was ignoring my intuition about certain things for a long time. And I love everybody. I love everything, even people who I don't agree with. I love because there's a part of them that is still good. There's a part of like their inner child. Maybe they've locked this inner child in the cage, or maybe they've mistreated their inner child, but they do have a portion of themselves that is still trying to do good. And I love that aspect because I'm of the mindset that people don't do things. Most people don't do things without trying to be good. Like I still say that each person is the main character. You are the main character of your story. And I know it's gonna make some people feel uncomfortable because their belief is that God is the main character, or Jesus is the main character, or their partner is the main character, or whatever. Like each person, they're all convinced. They're all certain that something else is the main character. But one of the things I learned, and this was through psychedelics, was that we are, like, the universe is God, and our existence is us telling God stories. Like we are a way for God to experience the world. We are a lens. We are eyes. We are a sensory suite for God to experience reality. And so we are the main character of a story. Think about it this way: you are the main character of a story that God is reading, or God is writing, or some people will say that you're an aspect of God. So the way I understood it is that we are God. We are aspects of God telling God stories, and life is a story God is telling us. And I like the word universe. I like the word source. I do like um, the Sanatan Dharma. I like, Vishnu. I'm really connected to Vishnu and Lakshmi. Um, I was briefly very, very connected to Shiva and the idea of change and destruction, but I've always been, in my family at least, I've always tried to be, and also just in general, I try to be protector. And so Vishnu is very much who as far as uh, Sanatana Dharma is concerned, is my uh, the name I use when I speak to um, Brahman and the universe. And the good thing is that the word universe is also compatible. The term God is the word God is also compatible. And so I I've learned that the reality is God telling themselves stories and seeing these stories through various perspectives. And you are the main character of one of those stories, and the person next to you is also the main character of one of those stories. And you need to respect that everything is a main character in their story. But in that same sense, you, the person watching, the person listening to this, is the main character. And I found that partially through meditation, because I do meditate, partially through prayer, because I do pray, and partially through psychedelics, and also partially through just having conversations with great people. There are so many ways to accomplish what I've accomplished through psychedelics. And so I never recommend psychedelics or any substances because, like I said, I prefer life when I'm sober. And so it's like my friend said yesterday, there's no hard and fast rules as far as my plan, but I do plan to live going forward. I'll drink water. I've got my water bottle here. I'll drink. I'm a little bit unhealthy sometimes, so I drink soda. I eat candy and I eat unhealthy sometimes, processed foods and all that nonsense. But I'm trying to eat healthier, and in that, I like how my brain works now without any additives or any modifiers, and so I'm going to embrace that lifestyle. I really do like the feel of reality when I'm seeing it without a modifier. And I think that for some people, psychedelics can be good, but every substance can be bad if used incorrectly or by the wrong person. If you are predisposed to some kind of mental disorder or imbalance, if you have some kind of chemical imbalance, or if you are predisposed towards addiction, or if you already are on substances that are prescribed by a doctor, and those things can all have implications regarding any substance. And so I will never, I'm not a physician, I'm not a trained doctor, I'm not a researcher or a scientist on this topic, so I will never say you should do a thing. All I'm saying is, in my experience, those substances, I've only done a handful of different things, but psilocybin was cannabis and psilocybin are what I've done. Or like that is all I really attribute to my life as it is now, because I'm autistic. I have ADHD, and I have learned that through cannabis and psilocybin, I have found a new form of balance within myself. And my mom said the other day, and it really hit home because it's like physical evidence for myself. But she said to me, "You, I don't know if you noticed this, but you sound different now. Your voice is more clear and more calm and more balanced." And I attribute that partially towards my experiences with meditation and spirituality, but also partially with psilocybin, because it does affect neuroplasticity, and it does help brain cell growth, and it does help with connecting dots in your brain that might not be originally connected. And for a person who is on the autism spectrum, in my experience, it helped me. But everybody's different. For some people, it is the opposite decision they should make. Some people only should, meditate and pray and never once touch a substance, and that's perfectly fine. I know one of my favorite people in the world, Brendan Lee Mulligan. He's from Dropout. I love everything he's done, and he's an open and direct about the fact that he's a teetotaler. He doesn't partake in anything and hasn't partaken in anything, and he doesn't plan to, which is awesome. That's a perfectly valid path, and I think that's also one of the safer paths. No, honestly, that's one of the safest paths. And some people will combine that with their faith, and so there'll be a teetotaler who talks to God, and that is how they find their spiritual awakening, their path to God, their path to enlightenment. For me, it was a loving mother, a interesting patchwork, interesting of childhood. It was a very interesting kind of undefinable, travel-laden patchwork of various homes and all these always being the new person in a group, always being the new kid. And then also, for a long time, it was just through self-introspection, through a lot of mental work, and I would tell people I would be rewiring my brain, and I would sit down and I would be like, what's a behavior that I've been doing lately that I don't like, and I would spend time in my head, like adjusting, like my programming intentionally, and I did that for the first 30 years of my life, and only once I felt ready to, and my brother will attest this. He suggested I partake in cannabis for years before I did, for a long time before I did, and I just wasn't ready. And I never, and I'm probably good. Like I'm good. Yeah, it's a thing that I've enjoyed, but at the same time, it's like it doesn't elevate my reality to a degree that I find overly notable or overly, like, I don't need it. And I've probably smoked for the last time in a long time, and that was a couple weeks ago. And I've definitely done mushrooms for the last time in probably a long time. And I've done a few different types of psychedelics, and I'm probably done with those. I don't need mood enhancers. I don't need um, mind altering substances anymore. I like my mind as it is now. And so going forward, my adventurous guide will be from the perspective of somebody who doesn't do these things. Somebody who has, but somebody who doesn't. And so going forward, that is who I am. If you have any questions about this stuff, I love talking about it. It has genuinely helped me become who I am today. But it's not for everybody. And honestly, it's not for most people. And going forward, it's not for me. And I'll actually elucidate and elaborate on those things, why they're not for me anymore, in later videos. But partially has to go with the fact that spirituality is, there is a spiritual battlefield to it. There's this concept in Hermeticism about the as above, so below correspondence. And so the way that the phrase goes is as above, so below, as within, so without. And there's a spiritual battlefield within you. And how you engage with that can affect how you engage with the 3D reality. And I've learned that I gained what I needed through the different victories I've accomplished through spiritual warfare. My I don't seek. I've never sought out glory. I never sought out uh, fighting for the sake of fighting. It was for spiritual growth, and so I've reached a point where I'm happy. I am who I want to be, and I'm at the starting point of this new journey where I'm in Maine. I have these ideas for some entrepreneurship and some ways to benefit the community and also benefit the world. I want to create things that help the world, and I have these ideas that I want to start building towards. And I think being in Maine is a good place to start because I've met so many great people up here. But I think I've gone on long enough in this video. It's almost 25 minutes and a few seconds. But yeah, the crux of it is I listen to my intuition for everything. And my intuition has told me that at least for the time being, I'm good. I'll probably, no, I definitely, if given the chance, if I ever go to Peru, I met a new friend recently who said that if you're going to do ayahuasca, go to Peru, because that's where the plants are. And then I also want to go to, if I'm going to follow that advice, then I want to go to Africa and try iboga. but those two seem like I want to be flushed of any exterior chemicals and mind altering substances for at least 90 days before I partake in either one of those, because I want to truly respect those. Because ayahuasca, the grandmother is I want to show her respect, and iboga, the grandfather, I want to show him respect as well. And if I interact with them, I want to be cleansed and without these substances. And then before that, I also probably fast and in partake in a particularly healthy diet to where my system is more cleansed as well. And then I will find my way to Peru and find my way to wherever in Africa. I don't know in Africa where they do the iboga rituals, but I will take a trip and then go on an adventure um, there. And so yeah, thank you for your time. Um, I I guess I wanted to kind of say, follow your intuition. The sober route is always the safest, and have a great day.